Good morning. Welcome to Village in Motion. We're coming to you today via Zoom because we are still not able to have in the studio with us visitors from the outside. So we're thrilled today to be able to come to you via Zoom so we can welcome two guests. One of our guests, I'll give our outside guest first, is Meredith Susan Sims, and she's coming to us from out in the community. And the other guest that we have here today is Mary Seip. Now, these ladies are coming to us as representatives of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And they will explain to you in a moment or so exactly why they're here at this particular time of the year to talk about their organization. Ladies, first let's introduce each of you. Mary, let's start with you and just quickly tell us your connection with Daughters of the American Revolution.
Well, we're both Mary, so I think you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Mary Elizabeth, and she's Mary Susan.
And I'm just Susan.
And you're Susan. Okay. Well, we're here because let's see, Mary Susan, you make this introduction. Why we're here.
You want me to? Okay. We're basically here to celebrate Constitution Week, and which is coming up in September, the 17th through the 23rd. And it is a very special week for DAR because DAR was an organization that made Constitution Week basically what it is. We usually have posters in each of the community centers and flyers in each of the bulletin boards, alerting people to understand their Constitution, value their Constitution, read the Constitution, and learn what a powerful piece of history it is for us today.
That has become very important to us recently because it seems like on TV, constantly we're hearing something about this isn't constitutional, or this is against this amendment, or that amendment. And I'm sure many people are like me and thinking, I think I'd better go back and look at the Constitution and see exactly what they're talking about. And that's what you're encouraging us to do.
Most definitely.
That's good. And outside of our community, are there other activities that the DAR does relative to Constitution Week?
Exactly. Most of what is done regarding Constitution Week is involving students in schools.
So that's a little bit of a challenge this year.
Exactly. So we have been trying to do something very novel, and each of the chapters has a specific or has a unique way of doing that. One of the things that Mary Elizabeth has been involved in that is parallel to Constitution Week is her involvement with the DAR Good Citizen Committee. And she is working with high schools in the area to get students involved with developing an essay that will talk about good citizenship. And this can lead to scholarships for these young people. And one is given to a male and female in various schools around the county.
So Mary Elizabeth, how are we doing that this year?
This year, as everything is, it's being done virtually. And information has been provided to the chapters in our district. When I say our district, I'm talking about Northern Virginia here. We have 16 district chapters in our district. And all the chapter regions are invited to have are supposed to have a good citizen chairman who in turn contacts their high school. Each chapter has particular high schools that they may participate. It's a little hard to get the high schools to participate, but we're working at it. We've had good luck with it in the past, and we're hoping to have that again. Each high school can choose a good citizen from among its senior class. And it could be either a male or a female. And then those students are invited to, but not necessarily to, or rather not required to participate in the essay contest. but it's definitely to their advantage to do so. And as Mary Susan
Because
said, then they do get some monetary feedback from their for their efforts.
so
As
that
well as
not
honor
every
that title.
every student participating receives money.
Yes.
So if I'm a high school student and I'm chosen for this, all I have to do is write an essay, and I will be guaranteed to receive some monetary feedback.
They will receive the information, the title of for their essay. They do not know this title in advance. They do know, obviously, that it has something to do with good citizenship. But they are presented this scholarship title, given 2 hours, proctored, no information with them except a pen, pencil, their computer, and a dictionary. And it's a
Wow.
challenge, but they do. It's just amazing, the quality of the essays we read. It's breathtaking. It's so encouraging to we older people.
That is very interesting to learn that it's in a certain period of time, and it's proctored, so no one else is writing it for them, and it's really a good test for them. And as you say, a quite surprised, not, we shouldn't say surprising, quite wonderful, what a good job they do.
You are absolutely correct. I'd like to do a little introduction, if I may, as to exactly what is DAR.
I would like that.
Okay. Well, DAR is the abbreviation for National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. And it's an organization that was organized in October. Tell that telephone to go away. Okay. Okay, I'll get rid of her. Was organized in October 1890. You know, that's 130 years ago. And the organization's purpose was to perpetuate the memory and spirit of the men and women who achieved American independence. This was a time marked by a revival in patriotism and intense interest in the affairs of the beginnings of our country. Women felt the desire to express their patriotic feeling and were frustrated by their exclusion from men's organizations that were formed to perpetuate the same memory. Okay, go away. Women felt let's see. As a result, a group of pioneering women in Washington, D.C., naturally that's the nation's capital, formed their organization, and DAR has carried the torch of patriotism ever since. It's a service organization. In 1893, Ellen Hardin Wadsworth, one of the founders, wrote, and I quote, "DAR laws of membership are equally democratic, for it requires no test except proven revolutionary descent and unblemished good character. It is not a social organization. It is an order patriotic, historical, and genealogical, and holds itself closely to these objects." And using today's language, that means that our objects are patriotism, education, and preservation. Now, I had the pleasure of being the organizing region for the chapter here at Green Spring.
Now let's back up here a second and point out to our viewers here that we do have a chapter here at Green Spring if someone would be interested in joining. And you were the founder.
I am, and we are just so excited to have been able to have it here. Green Spring has been very good to us. And we have lots of members, residents here who could be members and are members. And we invite any of those to contact us, and we'll get a little bit more into how to that in a few minutes, okay?
So how many, let's back up one second. How many members are there in the DAR nationwide?
There are about 300,000 currently. I think Mary Elizabeth and I can safely say we are 1 in a million, because since its founding, there have been over 1 million members of DAR.
That's amazing. Since 1890.
Yes.
That's
And actually in our chapter at the moment, 104.
and 104 in our local chapter here. And it's not only made up of Green Spring residents, but some other people from throughout the community.
Yes, the majority of whom do live in the immediate community, but we have some that live all over the country and
Okay.
are still managed to be active.
And I'm sure tools like Zoom help them to do that.
It
Mary
has.
Susan, tell us what your tie is to DAR and to our chapter here.
Well, I am currently the chapter regent. Mary Elizabeth, Mary Elizabeth is my, there is a military term, it's called graybeard. Mary Elizabeth is my graybeard. She is my go-to person when I have concerns or when I have questions about what I should do about something. And she and I collaborate quite often.
So the regent is like the president?
Something like that. Something like that. But
Presiding officer and in charge.
right. The thing is that it's not just me. It's a team effort. We have a wonderful leadership committee. Our registrar, Chris Westcott, is the one responsible, so to speak, for these 104 members being here because she does all the legwork to make sure that the Patriots are, proven. And I mean, she even was able to prove one of our members is 100 years old. She was even able to prove a new patriot for this individual.
Well, that's great. So what do you mean by proving someone?
Okay. Long time ago, my grandmother kept telling me about the fact that I could be DAR because we had a number. And this number, I found out later on when I was actually active looking to be a member of DAR, is an ancestor number assigned by NSDAR.
And your grandmother had mentioned that number to you.
Well, she had mentioned that we had one. She was not a member of DAR, but she knew about it.
And you didn't know what that number even meant?
And I didn't know what that number meant. And so when I started looking for the possibility of joining, I worked with Chris and we went back, and I think it's my third great grandfather that was part of the Virginia Revolutionary War effort. So that's what you have to do. You have to go back and with land deeds, death certificates, wills, probate records, so many different things that you have to use to prove that you are a direct descendant. Interestingly enough, in addition to these documents, DAR is now accepting DNA evidence, not as a sole factor, but as a supplementary factor.
So how would the DNA prove that you had this tie?
There is a way that you can prove DNA through. I wish I knew more about DNA evidence.
It's very complicated.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got to be a geneticist. You've got to be a geneticist really to explain it. But yes, it can be used as a supplementary documentation, but you still got to have the written documentation. And we call it lineal descent. And lineal descent proves to prove properly documentation regarding date and place of birth, death, and marriage for both husband and wife in every generation. And then in addition to that, you have to prove that you're proper service for your patriot. Now this sounds complicated, but as Mary Susan said, we have the most wonderful registrar that assists when to do rest of work beyond what the prospective member already knows.
In other words, if I wanted to do this and I didn't have any of the proof and I didn't even know where to start, you have people that could help me do that.
Yes, and she will start with you and ask you for any information you have. First, with regard to your parents, where were they born, and so forth, their names, and do you know about your grandparents? And so a lot of ladies have already done a lot of documentation, so they pass that on to our registrar, and she takes it from there.
I have to tell you, you probably are wondering, looking at the background in my picture, why are we looking at donkeys standing in a wooded area? The land that you're looking at here was first purchased as part of a military survey by my fourth great grandfather, who was tied to the revolution as a result of providing supplies to the revolution, not actually fighting in the revolution. But this is, that's the reason that I chose this view, was because of that tie, that this land is still in our family. So there lots of ways to find out this information.
There certainly are many ways. Actually, well, we talked about proving your lineage back to the patriot. But then when you get to that, you have to prove the service, as I said. And there's two types of service. There's civil service and patriotic service. And the civil service, the first and most obvious, of course, is to have served as a soldier or a sailor. But there's also a third way, and that's to have been a civil servant. And some examples of that are serving as a judge or being on a jury, serving on one of the committees, such as the Committee of Correspondence or the Committee of Safety. Then taking the oath of allegiance was a biggie. Many men, that's all they did, but that was very important, that they had allegiance to the purpose of the War of Independence. Or many signed, of course, the Declaration of Independence. And then the other category is the patriotic. Of course, all of it is patriotic, but examples there, you were a prisoner of war, or you paid a supply tax. Now, not just taxes, but a supply tax. As the name implies, tax to provide supplies as needed. Or they may have acted as an overseer of the poor or an overseer of the road. They cared for the injured. And they gave material aid. And here again, this is a biggie. They donated food and grain or a horse or anything else that was needed. And then, of course, that documentation is necessary. And the dates between which it is necessary are 19th of April, 1775, and October 1783, that's when the the Revolutionary War ended.
So that's really interesting in terms of the entire revolutionary activity was not only about the soldiers, that it was everybody together, and membership in the DAR recognizes that you may have supported the effort in more than one way. So I want to talk a little bit about how DAR can help anybody who's looking for genealogy information, not necessarily relative to proving membership for the DAR, but if you were just interested in genealogy resources, period, that the DAR has a lot to offer. Mary Susan, can you talk to us about that?
Oh, most definitely. And it is basically two words or three. Anyway, DAR library. Absolutely top-notch, and probably next to Salt Lake City and the library out here with the Mormon Church. The DAR library is just absolutely wonderful for being able to do research on genealogy. It has...
Okay, we're losing me. Losing Mary Susan a little bit, and the answer there is that yes, anyone can go there.
Yes, anyone can go to DAR library.
in that library, one of these resources, well, this you could start with at home actually, is to go on the website, dar.org, and click on genealogy. And in there you'll find a list of sources. And then the very last one is called just plain resources. You click on that, that'll give you a long list of genealogical sites that are available to everyone. And these are, all of these are sites that the DAR staff itself uses regularly.
And not just the DAR sites, but other sites.
These are
Like the Mormon
a number of
Library
other
and
sites.
Ancestry.com and other. Yes.
Yeah, they provide you
are
the
all
names
very,
of these.
very helpful. If you go downtown to, and we should say, where is the DAR library? It is downtown in Constitution Hall, which we all know as an auditorium, but also in the same building is the library. And what else is there? What else can I see while I'm there?
Oh, it has a wonderful museum. And there are docents available when it's open. There are docents available to take individuals on a tour. And
Okay.
you can.
What can I see there?
I'm sorry?
What can I see there? What's in the museum?
Mary Elizabeth is going to be able to speak more to that than I am.
Okay.
Well, they have regular scheduled programs. In other words, for several months at a time. Okay, I don't know what the current one is, frankly, but they've had them on clothing throughout the women's clothing as it has progressed from the pre-genealogical up to the present. Oh my goodness, just a wealth of different programs that changes every few months. Then in addition, and there's a nice little store there, if you will. And there are other places. There's a place in the building called the Americana Room where you can see things that have been saved. Americana history. Let's see, there's the Symes Room where you can go to the, access all kinds of film that has been digitized ever since the beginning of the DAR. All DAR applications have been digitized, and of course they have to continually keep up with that. Then they're also well into digitizing all the documentation that members have sent in. And
Are those going to be available on the website?
At the present time, those are accessible only on site or by the staff itself, not from home, no.
Okay. I think at one point they were available on the website, and I see on the site now that they're only available for purchase. And I'm thinking maybe that is partially for security reasons, that people aren't just going out and gathering up information on families that are not their own. Maybe you need to be a little more serious about it.
I think that you're probably correct in that. Yes, the privacy issue is very, very important.
We have just 5 minutes left, Diane is telling us, and I'd like to ask you a little bit about what happens at DAR meetings. If I were to join the DAR and prove my members, prove my background, and to join the chapter, any chapter, what happens at the meetings? What do you do?
Mary Susan?
Well, we start off with what is known as the DAR ritual. And it is it's a format honoring our American history, honoring our country, and we do the preamble to the Constitution, we do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, we do the America's Creed, and then we have a prayer by the chaplain. And this is done in the chaplain reads something and then the audience responds. So it is an ongoing ritual. Then we all call it the opening ritual. Then we have our program, and it those are just absolutely, we've had some really great programs. And they all have to do
They're
with
about 20 minutes in length.
about 20 minutes in length. And they all have to do with things that are current or American history, women's issues, veterans issues, things that matter to particularly to women and to particularly to DAR. And then we have reports from various committees that each member participates in.
So thank you for that description. So if, let's say, someone here at Green Spring or someone watching this perhaps on YouTube is interested in joining our chapter here, who should she contact?
The member, if she's a resident, probably it's best to contact one of us who live, one of the members who live here at Green Spring, right, Mary Susan?
Correct. I think so.
Okay. I will be
Okay,
happy
so
to answer anybody's questions. We have other members here that you may know, Jane Ford, Susan Corso, Carol Subic, Pat help me out, Pat Charbonneau, and any of those can give our residents answers to questions or refer us.
Okay.
And our names are all in the directory.
And
We would
Mary's
urge
last
those
name,
of you who are already members to come and transfer with us as well.
and Mary's name, I think, will be shown on this screen when this is finalized, but if it's not, her last name is Seip, S-E-I-P, to be able to look that up. Ladies, we are out of time, but I thank you so much for joining us today, and especially for your service in the organization and your part in the organization's service to the community, and for just encouraging us to be good patriots, and this week to remember our Constitution. And we encourage all of you to pick it up and take a look at it and review it this week. It's good for all of us. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again on Village in Motion.